Abba Father, you are welcome to our study of Galatians. We are in verse 10 of chapter 1. In our previous class, we looked at verse 9. As we have said before, so now say I again. If anyone preaches any other gospel to you than what you have received, let him be accursed. And now verse 10, for do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. So, there's a lot here I want to talk about. The Apostle Paul discussing this says, do I now persuade men or God? Why is Paul asking that? Because these Judaizers that used to follow him, the people that persecuted him and went everywhere he went to disorganize the work that he had done. One of their accusations against Paul was that he was a man pleaser. They claimed that the message that Paul was preaching or ministering, his goal was just to please men. And we're going to see this later as we discuss in this book, that that's a big deal because, or usually, up to this present day, one of the biggest accusations against grace preaching, all the ministering of the grace of God, the love of God, faith, righteousness, the new creation, one of the biggest accusations that is leveled against people that do that is that they're just trying to please men, that we are making it easy. And some people call it easy grace, sloppy agape, false grace, easy believism. There's so many things that people call this message that makes that says that you don't have to do anything to be pleasing to God. And Paul had to face this accusation all the time. Because the Judaizers would come in and say, no, Paul is just trying to please you. He's watering down the gospel so that you don't have to do anything. This message of not having to do anything is a false message. It's a false grace. It is hyper grace. These are the terms that people use to ridicule this message. And this was the accusations that came against Paul, that he was watering down the gospel because he was telling people that they did not have to obey the commandments, they did not have to obey the law, they did not have to do something, they did not have to acquire something. And so they accused Paul of watering down the message and of preaching a false message. So this is what Paul is answering to. He's saying, am I now seeking to please men? Am I seeking the favor of men or of God? Is my ministry to please men or my ministry is to please God? See, this is what he's having to answer to, because this is the question that we have to answer when you are going out to preach the grace of God. Is your goal to please men or is your goal to please God? Because if your goal is to please men, then automatically you will water down the message. You will always tell people what they want to hear so that they can be happy with you. The interesting thing is that actually the people that are preaching legalism are the ones that are trying to please men, because people want to be told what to do. People want law. People want commands. And so if you're giving them commands and you're telling them how rotten they are and how angry God is with them, people will most likely respond positively to you. If you go to most churches that are full of legalism and law, you will find them full of people and nobody service. But then if you go to this place where they're talking about the love of God and the goodness of God and the grace of God, you will not find so many people there, because it's funny that people want to be condemned. They want to be told that they have curses. They want to be told that God is not happy with them. And so, on the contrary, the ones who are men pleasers are the ones that are preaching this stuff that we know that is wrong and that is old covenant mindset. But Paul is accused of trying to please men by watering down the message and being a man pleaser. And that is an accusation that is coming. They would say, oh no, Paul is just telling you half of the story. The truth is, you also need to be circumcised. You also need to obey the law. You also need to literally, basically live like Jews. And Paul is not telling you that because he knows that you will not be happy. Paul is not telling you that because he knows that he wants to carry your favor. Paul is not telling you the truth, and this was their accusation against him. So Paul is saying, just look at what I've said before. If anybody is preaching any other message than what I've preached to you, let him be accursed. In other words, if Paul is answering them, his question would be, from the way I have spoken, do I look like I'm trying to buy favor from anybody? I have just pronounced a double curse there and double anathema when anybody was preaching any other message. So I've just said that my message is the only message that needs to be preached. So does that sound like a man pleaser? Does a man pleaser come with such an absolute stand and say it's either my message or no message? You know, you can't accuse a person like that of being a man pleaser because he's really strong. But then Paul continues, in fact, and here he says, am I striving to please men? The KJV saying that, or do I seek to, do I not persuade men, oh God, or do I seek to please men? He's saying, do I seek to please men? Is my message for pleasing men? Am I in the ministry to please people? Have I started to preach with a goal, with the intention of pleasing people? And as a minister, you have to ask that question. Why am I ministering? Is it to please people? Do I want people to be happy with what I'm saying? Am I seeking to please men, or am I seeking to please God? Am I seeking to have people happy with me, or am I seeking to please God? Is it men that are going to approve of me, or is it God that needs to approve of me? Do I need the favor of men, or do I need the favor of God? And you have to answer that question, because then that determines what you minister, how you minister it. Are you willing to minister what is contrary to the established view? Are you willing to minister what is contrary to what is the accepted doctrine? Can you go against the tide and share the truth of the gospel? It is a scandal, because you see the gospel is scandalous by nature. So are you willing to share the scandal of the gospel unequivocally, or are you going to try to balance it with love so that you placate people that may not be happy with you or happy with this message, especially the Judaizers and the law abiding, the Mosaic law abiding so-called believers? So those are questions that Paul is asking these people, and of course they're rhetorical because he's contradicting their accusation against him. He's saying, I am not here to win friends, I am not here to make people happy with me. In Philippians 1:17, he speaks about how these people were proclaiming Christ out of selfish ambition rather than from pure motives. Because these people would, when he was jailed, they would go to these churches and preach the gospel to compete with Paul, or to share, to reach more people than Paul. And so Paul is like, well, they're preaching, but it's not out of pure motive, it's selfish ambition. But he says it's okay because they're still preaching Christ. Christ is getting preached.